Hello, friends. Welcome to Conscious Caregiver Conversations. Happy Valentine's Day. I have had quite the day, so I'm going to do a little smudging. Cleanse the energy of what was a trying day. There is Miss Samantha. So we'll get her on here. Letting technology take its time because, smudge the technology. There we go.
Good morning. Good afternoon.
Good morning. Yes. Good afternoon it is, because I am home.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I'm going to move the camera around because I see you smudging there, and I actually need to put some on too because I'm feeling it today. So I'm just moving the camera a little bit.
Yes, it was a trying day. So we are reconvening on Valentine's Day here in the States, and
yes,
it has been
happy Valentine's.
Yes, happy Valentine's to the States. Valentine's Day was yesterday for the Aussies. And it's been 2 weeks since we last got together, which means I'm also 1 year older than I was for our last episode.
Yes. What wise wisdom have you found in your year older?
Well, I've entered a new decade, and this new decade is going to be the start of all the good things, all the things that I've been working towards, all the healing that I've been doing, and the healing journey is never over. It is a journey for a reason, and many of us that are presently walking the earth right now have been have experienced many lifetimes. So we've got lots of healing and lots of karma and lots of things to transcend and evolve from and all the things. So it is called a journey and not a destination for a reason. But I've been on this healing journey very intentionally for the last 3 years and continue, as I said, on the journey. But it is time for more fruits of my labor. So yeah, things are a little rough right now, but change is coming. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And change is hard when our days look very similar, because Jenna and I are in very different clinical positions, but I feel like in similar ways we feel about our current positions, and that we might be nearing the end of this time. in these current roles. And I feel like change is always happening. And sometimes it's very hard to remember when our days look the same day in, day out. And that's where the intentional practice of slowing down and feeling the shifts in ourselves and having the awareness in ourselves can actually highlight that a lot of change is happening even when at this present moment our external reality is not shifting. So, for example, I had a couple of months of feeling incredibly frustrated. I'm doing all the spiritual work, I'm doing all the money mindset work. I've got my own coaching and mentoring business with mamas, and nothing was sort of changing externally and feeling a deep frustration. Now, still, you could look at my picture from the outside in and nothing might appear to be changing, but I feel a lot different. I feel a deep sense of knowing. I feel none of that anger or frustration, which is a massive energy leak. Like it makes everything harder when you're, feeling really bumpy, low frequencies, emotions, thoughts, whatever they might be, or combination of all of them. And so it's beautiful. And because I try to be as intentional as I can, taking these moments and this awareness, I'm actually like, I've had some really rough days at work too, and I still feel exhausted, yes, at the end of the day, mentally, emotionally, but none of that frustration is there. None of that anger is there. There is simply a deep-seated knowing that I am very experienced, that I am doing the work, the conscious caregiving work, and the change is happening already and is happening just in my mentality and just what I'm putting out there. And I've actually had a couple of opportunities come my way. So that's just a very quick, example, because sometimes, we talk about all this slowing down and it's like, well, what does that actually mean and what does that look like? So that's a really good example of being able to recognize the change in me, even when externally it appears that at this point in time, on this present day, in this present moment, nothing has really changed that much. So just wanted to share that to inspire others if they're feeling the same as well.
Yeah, no, that's a great perspective. And I think the other thing too that we have to remember, and it goes along with this healing journey, is that certainly there's times in our lives when, it is absolutely appropriate to shift and, to make changes and to do something different. But we have to also remember that nothing changes if nothing changes. And what that actually means is that it's not about changing the circumstances around you, it's about changing the circumstances within you. And what I have come to find over many years is that, I could change a job or work at a different hospital or go to some of these different places, which some of that I did anyway, just because my husband and I have moved several times because of his profession and some changes in his career, changes in my career. Like, we've had different reasons why we're not the people who have 10 years at the same place and stuff like that, because of different things that have happened within our careers, and my husband being a golf professional and all of that. But all that being said, there have been times where there were things that perhaps were very uncomfortable or not going well, or whatever at one job, so I would go to another job. And what you end up finding is that if you're not beginning to identify the patterns for yourself that are coming forth, that show up time and time and time again, no matter where you're working, no matter what you're doing, it's the same patterns, and you don't start to have an awareness of those patterns so that you can start to shift those patterns, then it doesn't really matter where you are or what you're doing, because in one way or another those patterns are going to show back up. And so, that's kind of what I'm referring to when I say, if nothing changes, nothing changes. And it's not about changing the circumstances around you, it's about. And that doesn't mean that, you can't make a change externally, go to a different role, work at a different hospital, whatever it might be. But regardless of what you do, and ultimately whatever you do needs to be right for you. But regardless of what you do, you have to remember that there's still healing work to be done, because everything that happens, and this is the most challenging and sometimes infuriating part of this journey, is that everything that happens around us, the circumstances we encounter that we're frustrated with, the people we encounter that we become frustrated or feel some type of way about, they're just reflecting something back to us. So there's always something within us that we need to examine a little bit closer. We need to be looking for and identifying those patterns so that we can start, taking the aligned action within ourselves to shift those things. Otherwise, they're just going to keep showing up in the next, job, or the next whatever it might be. So, again, that doesn't mean that we just stay in one place and we stay stagnant and, we don't make those physical external moves. We just can't make those moves in the absence of the healing work and think that, oh, well, if I just go work here, or if I just try out this type of nursing, or if I just do this, or if I just do that, everything's going to be better, because that's not the truth.
That's very true, and it's juggling that kind of, maybe juggle's not the right word, but juggling that balance. Again, balance probably is not the word, where it's knowing that there's always inner work to be done. And it's so true, Jenna, because I, in my 20s, went from job to job when I was, got certain issues somewhere, or, whatever it might be, move to the next job, etc., etc. And it's really, like you said, been through this soul up journey, this healing journey, that I'm like, okay, what is this trying to show me? Look within, do all the things, use my tools, etc., etc. And then it's like, well, when does it get to a point where it's like, okay, well, now I really, I need to change. I need to switch because it's taking that aligned action along with that inner knowing, following our guides, spirit guides, whatever you listen to, your instincts, your intuition, whatever it might be. So it's and it's still navigating that. And I think it's good to remember we're only human, and we make the best decisions we can at the time that we can, with what knowledge we have and with what support we have. And this is another great example of having a trusted colleague, friend, someone who knows nursing is fantastic, coach, mentor, to sort of bounce these ideas off, isn't it, Jenna? Because it's like you sort of can have all these things going on in your head and thoughts and, challenges at work. And sometimes it's really good to just bounce that off a colleague who knows healthcare, who knows the nursing, challenges, or whatever profession you're in. And you can sort of say, well, is this something, okay, what's going on in here? And then is this something I then need to move myself away from externally?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you make a really good point too. Um, you know, sometimes we receive, this information, we receive these spiritual nudges that it is time for a change, and whatever that change might be or might look like. And not everybody's going to understand it, and that can be challenging too. Sometimes being in alignment and following your higher calling means doing something, making a shift, going to a certain, making certain changes in your life that other people aren't going to understand. And, you just have to trust yourself and just be in alignment with what feels right to you. And, I think the exercise that we did when we were kind of talking about, stress and what that feels like for you and your body, these exercises can be applied to any aspect of deepening your knowingness, deepening your intuition, deepening, what feels right to you. One of my favorite tools that is actually available and for the most part free or for very minimal cost is human design. And when I first started this journey 3 years ago is when I first learned about human design. And one of the websites that I use is mybodygraph.com. I'll make sure to include it in the comments for those of you who wish to look into it for yourself. There's many different people. There's actually a lot of people on Instagram. I follow several people on Instagram who, teach human design as well. So, I get to see their posts and stuff like that. So if you follow myself or Sam, you'll see we share some of that stuff in our stories and stuff like that. But what I learned about myself through human design, which we can go very deep into it, but on a little bit more of a surface level, I'm something called a sacral generator. And generators are the doers. They're like the worker bees. And so a lot of times, on occasion, we have our own original ideas. But to be perfectly honest, a lot of my ideas come from other things that I've seen, that I've liked, that have worked. But when I see something, or when I'm presented with something that really lights me up and gets me excited, then I'm the worker bee, and I'm the one that helps make it all happen. And the sacral aspect of it is how I know what's right for me. It's a guttural feeling. It's that gut feeling in your body that says, yup, or nope. And a lot of you who are watching these videos can relate to it. If you think about, somebody presents you with an idea, or let's just make it super, super simple. So I love pizza, right? So somebody, I smell pizza cooking, or someone's like, hey, I'm going to order pizza for lunch. And my body's like, yes, I love pizza. You feel it throughout your body. You're like, all right, lunch is going to be awesome today. But on the other hand, someone might say, okay, well, I'm going to make, peas. And immediately my body's like, oh, I personally hate peas. So my body is like, gross. You know what I mean? And I immediately feel it in my body. My body literally is like, nope, no peas. And so you can use, depending on what you are, you can use these really simple techniques. For me, being a sacral generator, asking myself questions, do I want pizza for dinner? Do I want peas for dinner? Things like that, and feeling what that feels like in my body. Again, bringing everything back to the soma, making everything, so much of what we do on this spiritual healing journey is somatic in nature. It's about getting back into your body and learning how things feel for you. On the other hand, I have a husband who is an emotional manifesting generator. And manifesting generators, so manifestors are the ones that come up with all the ideas. And sometimes they jump around a little bit, but they're the ones that come up with all the ideas. And manifesting generators are super cool because they can come up with a new idea that's like, you know, super original and fun. And then they have the worker bee in them too. So they come up with these new ideas and then they make these ideas happen. The emotional part is that they ride the emotional wave. So if they're super, super, super like excited, like rah, about something, or they're super like upset, angry, frustrated about something, they're actually not supposed to make major decisions. They need to wait until they come down or come up, as the case may be, from their emotional wave before they make a decision, especially if it's an important, like life altering, you know, a big move, a huge job change, you know, that kind of stuff. They want to be more even keel before they decide, yep, this is right for me, or nope, it's not right for me. And you can probably think about those people in your life too. I have a couple in my mind who, you know, would wait to get super angry and then like, I'm not doing that, or I quit, or I, you know, stuff like that. When if they would have just like allowed themselves to come down and, you know, really think about it a little bit and be a little more even keel, perhaps they would have made a different decision. So those are just two very quick examples, and that is like very, very foundational for human design. But, you know, going back to those exercises and those decisions that we make in our life, this again is another opportunity to know yourself on a deeper level and to come into your body and to start seeing how things feel for you and how you process energy and how you process, you know, decisions that need to be made and all of that. And it just plays a huge part in, you know, for me, I know because I'm a sacral generator, I know when things feel good and when things don't. The thing that I have to be super careful about is that sometimes because of my patterns, which have then, you know, created some of this anxiety and depression and things like that, I have to just make sure that I'm not seeing something through one of those lenses, that I'm seeing things through a clear lens, you know, because I do have a tendency to go into that panic mode again because of my patterning, because of these patterns that are no longer serving me, but they're coming up and they're presenting themselves and they create this veil, and sometimes I end up seeing through the veil instead of realizing like, oh, it's one of my patterns showing up, you know what I mean? So it can get a little tricky at times, but you know, it really is important to trust yourself. And you know, like I know when I'm making a decision that is in alignment because things work out. When I'm not making a decision that's in alignment, when I'm trying to control, things have a way of showing me like, Jenna, if you would have just let go and not tried to control this and surrendered to divine will, things would be different. So, yeah.
Very much so. That's so much information even in that, Jenna. And always I feel like our lives are very deep very quickly, but that's what we're here for. And if you're here watching this, it's for a reason. And there are definitely some gold nuggets in so much of that, which is why I love that we have replays, you know, available as well, because there's a lot of information, especially if you're new to kind of even just tuning into your body. And, you know, so many people on this planet are run by just, you know, thought processes, old patterns, and not really knowing that there's any difference. And you're here listening to us because there's some inkling that there is a difference, and there is a different way of doing things, and there is more depth and insight we can have into ourselves, not just looking with the external lens. So human design is great for that. And even on just a superficial level, like just on a, not superficial, but like just a surface level, just knowing what your human design actually is, and reading up a little bit more about that can give you a lot of insight. So it's not always about, especially when I talk to mums, you know, some mums have a very, you know, quick and understand their maternal instinct, and some are very removed from it, and that's okay, because there's many reasons why that's happened. So if you don't feel connected much to your intuition or your gut instinct, it's like, well, where can I start? And using a tool or using a strategy, some people use astrology. Human design is somewhat based on that, on your time of birth and where you're born, and everything like that. So it's very, very interesting, and there are these supports out there, and that's what we want to bring to this space as well, isn't it, Jenna? Like different physical things we can do, different things we can read up about, different tools that we can have, because it's not all on us to know everything and to be able to do everything. Otherwise we'd all be very different, I suppose. But yeah, it's to bring different ideas and ways of going forward into this space, into this conversation as well.
Absolutely, and you have to take what resonates and leave the rest. So, you know, realize, like, we talk about some of these things, and for some of you, I'm sure your brains are like, but this is just an introduction, really. I mean, there are so many other things that, you know, Sam and I utilize, coach on, tools that we use, books that we can recommend. You know, there's so much that encompasses the kind of coaching work that we do, with regard to consciousness and the conscious caregiver, and, you know, Samantha's other passion for matrescence and all of that. And so know that, like, sometimes when you're listening to, you know, to these conversations, it might seem a little bit overwhelming, but it's really about, you know, the tools that are available to you in your toolbox, and then you get to choose what is, you know, super resonant for you, that you can use moving forward to, you know, to process through your own healing and incorporate, you know, consciousness into your caregiving. Yeah, so there's many layers to it. And, you know, as I am able to kind of like reopen my conscious nurse collective and like all of these different things, you know, there'll be more that that comes from, you know, there'll be more opportunities to just be able to get closer and closer in proximity, to be able to gain from those things that'll help support you as you're working and striving more and more and more each day to be that conscious caregiver.
Very much so. And I think that in an age of where there's so much information that we can take, we really need to choose, you know, where to get our teachings from and our supports from, and there's only so much we can listen and watch and be there. So I think this is a beautiful space if you're aligned, if what resonates with you is what we talk on, then there's a lot of gold here, even in what this is episode 13, 14, Jenna?
14.
Yeah, so that's, you know, there's a lot of, like, there's so much gold already. So it's such a beautiful, beautiful space, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. And
Very
Sam
much
can
so.
tell you, I was having a little bit of a rough day today, but, you know, it's always nice to be able to look forward to hopping on here and talking with you and whomever joins us for the conversation. Yeah, I look forward to it.
Very much so. And as, yeah, as time goes on, we might be able to hop on, you know, individually, a bit at different times. Every time I finish this live, I'm like, yes, I'm going to hop on and just chat a little bit more throughout the week in my time zone. But it just, you know, life is hard, and that's where we have to give ourselves grace and understanding, and know that when we get inspired with different things, it takes time to embody them and implement them, and allow a project to grow as well. I was always a very rush, very push, pull, force, make things happen. And it is, like Jenna said at the beginning of the live, really it is about the journey, which is, it's cliche. We always talk about that. It's about the journey, not the destination. But yet it's so ingrained in us just to reach, you know, reach that milestone, reach that point in our head where it's like everything's just going to be better, and that's actually not life, and it's certainly not our health careers, because there's always different challenges that come up, whether it's patient, you know, conditions, experiences, all sorts of things, and they're here to actually help us grow and evolve if we choose for it to be, which is what we're here to enable you to do. So
Great.
does that sound like a good place, a nice positive place to leave it off this evening, Jenna?
Yeah. Yep, I think that is perfect.
Sounds good. So we'll be back next week,
Yep.
and maybe in between if we can hop on live, depending on our schedules. We have so much to say between Jenna and I. We have so much to say and so much to share and so much to teach on. But it's just yeah, hopping on and being able to be present, because we want what we share to be potent, present, valuing everyone's time. So
yeah. Yep, absolutely.
All right. Well, you take care. Have a good week, everyone.
Thank you.
See you next week.
Have a good one. See you
Bye.
next week.